Commissioner Look. Commissioner West. Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Meisner.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Commissioner Reinert.
Here.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we will consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 and purchase card claims paid for the period ending February 11th of 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Look and a second by Commissioner Reinert. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we'll look for approval of the minutes from the February 8th, 2022 County Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner West. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Is there further discussion or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That will pass unanimously. Next, we will move on to Chair's remarks. We have one item under Chair's remarks today, a presentation about the work the Anoka County Regional Economic Development Partnership, or AC-RED, is doing. For those of you who might be unaware, AC-RED is a partnership between Anoka County and its 21 communities, also with Connexus Energy and the Metro North Chamber, that serves to strengthen our existing business and economic landscape while attracting new investment to the region. Here today to talk about the accomplishments of AC-RED is Anoka County's own Economic Development Director, Samantha Markman. Samantha, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the County Board. It's a pleasure to be before you today to give an update to the Anoka County Regional Economic Development Partnership and just share a little bit in the year that we had previously and the year ahead and highlight some projects, which is always kind of my favorite part. I'd first like to open up with just thanking the County Board for the continued investment in economic development. My position would not be possible without the support of the County Board. It's a unique role in the fact that I work very largely with our external partners, being the 21 communities, our utility partners, the chambers of commerce, and the commercial real estate industry. So while Anoka County puts a roof over my head, it's great to work with those partners and the support that we have from the board to do that. When I kick off these presentations, I always like to give a quick look back to the partnership and how it was formed and kind of the committee that we work in. We are an executive committee with Commissioner Schulte and Commissioner Brasted serving from the county board, as well as members of the communities across Anoka County, our utility partners, and our chambers of commerce. We also operate in our subcommittees, and we've kind of gone by the wayside with these committees through COVID, but are looking to ramp those back up here for 2022 and really kind of engaging them to drive the policy decisions of AC-RED and ultimately some potential board decisions. Those three are our kind of three pillars in alignment and regionalism, marketing, as well as readiness. But my sole focus really kind of depends on our partnerships with our external committees, and that's with the cities, the chambers, Greater MSP, the Regional Economic Development Agency for the Twin Cities Metro, the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, our Open to Business contract, as well as other professional affiliations. Those three pillars, marketing, readiness, and regionalism alignment, really define the AC-RED goals, and that's really something that we strive to create all of our work around. So I've just included those in the presentation here, but we'll continue to operate on those three pillars moving forward. If you'll recall, in 2018, the Anoka County Board participated in a roadmap study which identified the creation of my position, as well as looking at economic development initiatives as a whole across the county. Through that initiative, it launched our target industries. These are things we do really well in Anoka County. When we look at things related to existing business, as well as future project opportunities, it's through the manufacturing, distribution, data centers, and technology, as well as back office support staff, that we are able to capitalize on our strengths and look for potential future projects in these same industries. To highlight some of the work that we did in the past year, it was probably about this time last year that I stood before you and gave an introduction to the board, taking on my new role, and was really proud of being able to grab the bull by the reins and hit the ground running. So just to highlight a few initiatives that we worked on through 2021, we were able to, in a post-COVID, as we look to a post-COVID world, host our 2021 Upriver Real Estate event. We hosted this at Running Aces. It was the perfect venue for this type of event because we had investors, potential developers, real estate brokers travel the I-35E corridor to attend this. And that whole corridor is littered with development opportunity. And so the ability to capture, one, it's not quite as far as I thought it was. Two, you could leave your passport at home. You can come that far north and not have to check in. And three, just the ability to highlight the development opportunities. We had about 85 pre-registered for that event, 70 in actual attendance. We partnered with Connexus Energy and the Minnesota Real Estate Exchangers Group to sponsor that event for us, which helped offset those costs. The Minnesota Real Estate Exchangers Group is a professional affiliation of real estate brokers, attorneys, title companies. They are looking to establish a North Metro chapter, and so that was a really great partnership for us in being able to highlight the opportunities in the North Metro and bring their organization a little bit closer to opportunities in Anoka County. On the project side, we facilitated approximately 30 formal inquiries. You'll see on the right, I tried to break this out by industry type. Overwhelmingly industrial inquiries. I think we know based on the market that we're in right now, there's a significant need for continued industrial growth. A little bit lighter on the commercial, and I was a little surprised to see housing as low as it was, but we continue to see the development of housing across the board throughout Anoka County. And then on the assistance side of it, I tried to break this out from kind of some past initiatives really working on COVID-19 recovery initiatives. What I highlighted here is new business assistant opportunities. So whether that be a referral to our Open to Business partnership or secondary assistance options for these businesses, this does not necessarily capture, hey, do you have a grant? Can I keep my business open? Those sorts of things. Because I think as we look to the continued recovery efforts through COVID-19, it's really how do we create a sustainable economy, not just a one-time cash infusion to these businesses as well. And looking ahead to 2022, I just wanted to highlight a few initiatives that we're currently working on. It's my understanding the board's been updated on some of the regional broadband efforts that we're working on and appreciate the support in continuing that project. We are meeting with stakeholders continuously at the community level to identify that need. We have launched our RFP process for bringing a consultant on board for the regional broadband feasibility study and would expect to have a recommendation back to the board in coming weeks for that particular project. That is kind of a phase one of that overall option. Phase two being funding opportunities to actually construct the broadband infrastructure. So we're hopeful that that feasibility study will help us identify the funding opportunities and need across Anoka County to build that out in a border-to-border system. We are working on some business retention and expansion efforts to harmonize this across communities. Right now, individual communities, stakeholders are working on this in a very individualized basis, but we're hoping to create a unique set of maybe 5 questions that when folks are out doing these visits, they can ask similar questions, which will give us a benchmark to some common data points, AKA X number of businesses that were visited said X% think Anoka County is a great place to do business or something like that. So we can start to create that common benchmark in data collection with each of the businesses that we visit. We continue to work with our communities. This comes in many shapes and sizes. My goal and the approach that I take to economic development is meeting each individual community where they're at. I think we all appreciate the vastness of Anoka County, both on a geographic scale as well as the communities that we serve, and that's something that is exciting for me. Each community we visit is a different opportunity to work with them, and again, just meeting them where they're at in terms of whether that be, our southern urban portion or our northern rural portion of Anoka County, and that keeps things exciting for sure. And we are working on some marketing initiatives for 2022. I've included our event schedule here. This will continue to evolve as we look to secure dates and follow the ability to host these events, but we will have our Business and Banking Summit coming up here relatively quickly. The Upriver Real Estate event, the PGA 3M Open and Anoka County's presence there, the MinCar Expo, which is a commercial real estate expo opportunity for us to get in front of those brokers again. And then we're continuing our work with the Minnesota Real Estate Journal, and those come with a variety of different events. One small celebration there is the North Metro Real Estate Summit will be hosted in the North Metro this year. It has previously been hosted at the Golden Valley Country Club, but we've worked with them to move that to the TPC in Blaine. So that'll be a great opportunity to host on the north side and talk about relevant projects where we're at. We continue to work with our partners on the Minnesota Technology Corridor. This is possible through our stakeholders and partners, largely led by Conexus Energy, Washington County, and Anoka County. But we work with our city partners and the telecommunications industries to just understand what these project opportunities look like. And to highlight, we have worked with each of the communities in Anoka County to look at premier sites that they have for development. I think the bonus to Anoka County is we actually have some large-scale development sites to see this happen, primarily falling along our I-35E corridor. And one thing to note is that as we've watched development occur along the 35W corridor, we start to see a push in the market to consider that I-35E. So as we, historically that market across the 35W corridor has always sort of been, maybe a preferred area to be, but now with the limited development opportunities that corridor sees, there's been a renewed look at the 35E corridor and how that development options might play out in expanding infrastructure and accommodations to get projects in at that particular area. And then just really quickly wanted to run through some community spotlights. This is just a snapshot in terms of recent project announcements or different key development opportunities. This is kind of the fun part for me. It's where we actually see, the shovel hit the dirt and some movement happening. So really quickly to just highlight some things happening in Blaine. Lexington and 109th continues to develop. The Quick Trip is nearing completion. They're working on some medical office on the corner there. There's the senior housing complex or 55-plus community there. And then commercial development. Obviously, post-pandemic, the commercial and retail opportunities have maybe fallen a little bit, but we're seeing good commercial development in the right places, and this is a key example of that. Surecast is an existing Blaine manufacturer that has a facility near Nassau on 105th. They were able to work with the city to actually build a new 20,000 square foot industrial project right across the street from their existing facility, creating some more modern amenities for their aluminum foundry facility. That should be, if they're not occupied, they should be very quickly. And then lastly, the I-35 and County Road J project. This is done by Artist REIT, built by Ryan Companies and leasing by CBRE. A significant project, one that's taken some hurdles to overcome, but this will open up 300,000 square feet of industrial spec. So when we talk spec, they don't have a tenant when it's built, but they look to lease those through the contract with CBRE. We did hear that one of the proposed buildings, on the north side, building C, building B, one of those will be fully occupied by a business coming out of Minneapolis. So that was good news to have a near 100,000 square foot building fully leased. Those two buildings on the north are not completed. The one that you do see erected at this time is that southern building A, which is just over 100,000 square feet and at least 32 foot clear, if not 36. They look to higher clear heights there for institutional capital and larger project needs. So that's going to meet a significant demand for a pinch on the industrial. Similarly in Ramsey, through the improvements on the Highway 10 corridor, which I know I don't need to update the county board on that progress there, but really wanted to commend the longevity and ability to see that project through, because I think we're going to start to see the benefits. While it might get a little bit worse before it gets better, we're going to start to see additional opportunities for projects such as this Oppidan project to come to fruition. Oppidan is building a 405,000 square foot speculative industrial building along the Highway 10 corridor, and this will be available for lease, and again, opening a market opportunity for this industrial warehousing that right now is very pinched across the metro. And lastly, a couple recent project proposals. This went before the Coon Rapids Planning Commission last week, but Vista Outdoor and Federal Ammunition are looking to add 100,000 square feet. You see the project identified there. That's about 30 acres on the Coon Rapids side of that facility. that will add some warehousing. Right now, they're storing raw materials in semi-trailers, and so this will allow them the ability to expand on their raw material storage. They'll look to build 100,000 square feet as a phase one, with a potential 100,000 square foot phase two expansion. It'll run north-south on the west part of that highlighted facility there. And then similarly, they also saw a proposal from Scannell Properties looking at East River Road near 95th Avenue. This will be 120,000 square foot infill development, which will be a multi-tenant speculative development warehouse. Again, filling a need that is much needed. When we see project proposals right now, most companies are looking for existing facilities and they're virtually non-existent. So to continue to see this sort of investment and opportunity is significant for Anoka County. And with that, that's a quick update from me. I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have. But again, thanks for the opportunity to provide the update and look forward to many updates to come as well.
Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just comments. I mean, I know I've shared this with you personally, but I'm just so thankful to have you in this role. It's so needed, obviously, but someone to collect and promote and navigate all of our resources to others. So thank you very much for the update. And I particularly like that you're separating some of the pandemic and grant situation versus long-term sustainability, because you're right, businesses are always going to need help, and not just like you're saying the one-time cash assistance. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Samantha. I was just thinking about something when I got a LinkedIn message about that exact Coon Rapids warehouse. So I appreciate the work that you're doing to get the information out to people, because had no idea that was going on, and then it said on something that I clicked on from LinkedIn that it was going to be before the Planning and Zoning Commission in Coon Rapids, so I was able to watch that and kind of get an update as to how that's all going along. And then it also talked again about the East River Road project. So I appreciate the work that you're doing to get the information out to the community in places like LinkedIn, and we're just on top of everything from what it seems like, so I really appreciate the work you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Great presentation. Don't know if it's been dropped in our Dropbox yet, but if not, if that could be done, that'd be great.
Yep,
Thanks.
we'll forward it on. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sam, for giving such a detailed highlight review about AC Red's 2021 accomplishments and what we look forward to in 2022 with this partnership. AC Red is important for development in our area. And as you mentioned, the recent growth we've seen, such as the Artist REIT development in Blaine and the Oppidan development in Ramsey, likely wouldn't have happened if our communities weren't working together through AC Red. I've seen the results of this partnership over the last several years, and those results are impressive. AC Red is certainly changing the landscape of Anoka County for the better. I have one regret with AC Red, and that is that we didn't do it a lot sooner. This is a very successful blueprint for increasing economic development and building the right types of development, working so closely with our individual communities and our chambers of commerce and our utility providers that it's a common sense approach that escaped the board earlier. I'm glad we finally got it done. It took a lot of hand-holding to get the process started. But thankfully that was done. Thankfully we're on the right track. And again, Samantha, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Board.
And that will bring us back to our regular agenda, where with your acceptance and understanding, we'll move item 8 in front of item 7. And we will consider acknowledging that the County Board has received a copy of the proposed City of Columbia Heights Tax Increment Financing, or TIF district, for the following purposes. A, reviewing the proposal to modify the Downtown Central Business District Revitalization Plan for the Downtown Central Business District Redevelopment Project, and to adopt a tax increment financing plan to establish 42nd and Jackson Tax Increment Financing District, a housing district, and then B, submitting comments on the tax increment financing district to the city in lieu of the traditional 30-day comment period. For this item today, we have Aaron Turpich here from Columbia Heights, and he will walk us through all that gibberish I just read.
Great. a broad overview. So commissioners, thank you for the audience and opportunity to address the board this morning to just update you on what's happening in Columbia Heights. It's great to follow Samantha and put in a plug for the great work that AC Red's doing. Definitely happy to participate in that effort, and great to see all of the developments in the pipeline. It's a great time to have available space when the industrial market is on fire in the way that it is. So really exciting future for the county. So on the southern end of Anoka County, where things are redeveloping, we've got another TIF district in the works, and that's what I'm here for this morning. So the site, just to get a little acclimated to where we're at, the intersection of 42nd Avenue and Jackson Street in Columbia Heights, it's actually the former parking lot of NEI College of Technology. Before that, it was the Columbia Heights High School. And right now, it's just the surplus land that's left over from the city's public safety campus. So the city bought this site from NEI around 2010 and then redeveloped its police and fire station on this site. And there's about 1.7 acres left. This site's been plagued with some long-standing stormwater management issues. Through the different iterations of redevelopment, the stormwater has all been allowed to pool on the development site that we're talking about, so kind of kicking the can down the road for the better part of 20 years, and now it's an opportunity to fix that with this project and take care of an issue that's plagued the area residents for quite some time. So there's a site, just again in reference, we've got Central Avenue on the right side of your screen. The public safety campus is there just to the south of the red box. And it is a parking lot. That's your current conditions today. Public safety building kind of there in the background. Primary components of what we're putting in place here, it's a horizontal mixed-use planned unit development that includes a 62-unit affordable housing complex to be developed by Roder Walton Development. 100% of those units will be affordable to residents that are at or below 60% of the area median income. It's also serving as a site for the relocation and expansion of the Seika food shelf and thrift store. So Seika currently occupies a building that's on city property near our public works facility. They've outgrown their space, and this expansion would double their operations in size and scale, and an opportunity to put them on another city-owned site. So pretty cool vertical mixed-use integration of those two uses that are complementary: affordable housing, horizontal mixed use, and then the food shelf. Again, extensive stormwater redesign to alleviate those flooding issues. The city did also receive a $1.2 million LCDA grant from the Metropolitan Council that's going to assist in a variety of real improvements to the site: stormwater infrastructure, site grading, utility, soil corrections, and even a little bit of public art and some of the other kind of dressing on the top. So
Aaron, can I interrupt to ask, is LCDA livable communities?
it is livable communities. The acronym, the full acronym escapes me, but the Livable Communities Program, They've got two component parts: the transit-oriented development, and then the housing focus, which is what this project was successful in. So it is a transit-oriented project, being this close to Central, but it wasn't that pool of funds.
Thank you.
So site plan, just for reference, the L-shaped building is your affordable housing, and then the food shelf, the long rectangle on the right. Just a rendering of what the apartments proposed to look like. The food shelf. And then the tax increment financing. So why we're here, an integral part of this project and making it successful. Again, it's a housing district, looking at about $1 million in total assistance available. So the district would create that amount of money over a 25-year term. That would go to provide land acquisition funds, site preparation funds, some nuts and bolts housing money to the developer, utilities, and underground parking. We anticipate that the duration of the district would be 12 to 15 years. So working on the final calculus, because we need to consider other related infrastructure improvements that would be needed in the area and how much we can fund outside of the development. So the city, how much money can we put towards this project as well that would ultimately be reimbursed by TIF as well. So that calculus is coming into focus, and we'll have it figured out by the end of March. But the district duration for just the housing piece and what would go to Reuter Walton, we think would expire in 12 to 15 years. But just wanted to thank the board for the support of these projects. It's a primary tool that we utilize to, to level the playing field, to take redevelopment and create sites to get them essentially to the point where they're shovel ready, like the sites that we have in northern Anoka County. So,
Mr. Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Aaron. So this is my district, and I'm always happy when there's redevelopment because we're so landlocked. So this is great, and I continue to learn the details of TIF districts, and so when you say the district duration is 12 to 15 years, but yet we're talking about 25 years in total of TIF district, walk me through that.
So yeah, great question. So the district, a housing district, would be eligible to receive up to 25 years.
Okay.
We could stretch out the available increment over that time horizon. When we negotiate with the developers, we try to essentially limit the duration to the best of our abilities. So the least amount of assistance so that we can bring these projects onto the tax rolls as quickly as possible. So for the developer component, which we're looking at maybe around $600,000 that would go to them, that would be spread over 12 to 15 years. The city is trying to determine if we can fund some other infrastructure projects that are related to the project, create an interfund loan, and then capture the other available TIF as a city. So cities can do that kind of split the TIF into two pools. Pay as you go note is issued to the developer. They get paid for their qualified costs over time. The city can essentially do the same thing. And make a loan ourselves and then use that increment after the developer's TIF note has been paid. Then the city can start paying themselves back.
Okay, thank you. So big picture and then a couple different buckets.
Two buckets, potentially to go 25 years. And we're not sure that we would take it that far. The city is looking at around $250,000 to $300,000 of improvements to some stormwater infrastructure just outside of the site boundaries, and then potentially repaving an alley that serves the site as well. So.
Perfect. And yeah, just, I guess, follow-up comments. So I definitely appreciate the balance of what you're trying to do to attract developers. Now that I'm in this role for county, I appreciate trying to get that TIF district, though, within manageable or the minimal time spaces as possible. So thank you for the explanation. Appreciate it.
And as just a matter of procedure, the county board does not vote on this. We simply look at their plans and acknowledge that we've read them and understand them. This is our opportunity, however, to ask questions if we have them. I again appreciate you being here, Aaron, and your work on AC Red is appreciated as well. I, like Commissioner Meisner, appreciate when we look at TIF districts and minimize them as much as we can, knowing full well some developments wouldn't happen without it. And that's truly the measurement of TIF for me. Right. If a development will not come unless they get TIF, then you need to balance how long that TIF district will last and whether or not it's the highest and best use for the property. Those are two very important measurements for me. Again, when I was on a city council, it was really important because I was voting on whether the TIF district happened. At the county board, it just gives me a better measurement stick as to whether I agree with the city council or not. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to add to the work that's already being done in Columbia Heights, I was just down just a few days ago and saw the work on 40th and Central, the new complex going up there for where you're going to have some of your city hall offices will be in there, plus it's apartments, and then it looks great. It's a great addition to the Central Avenue and in that area. So when I saw this coming forward, I thought, okay, there's another opportunity. So I'm thinking you guys are on the right track. Appreciate the work that the city council and staff are doing and working with Met Council and others to get funding, which is great. So good luck to you. I'm looking in the future.
Any further questions? Commissioner Reinhardt.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here noodling a little bit on what I just heard on the TIF. I understand the but-for test obviously has been satisfied for the construction of the residential facility, but you know, a little struggling with and I know we don't vote on this, I'm just trying to learn. Construction of an alley, because usually it's basically not collecting taxes, and that's, where TIF comes from. And so what taxes, would there be that you're delaying on an alley? And is it a better way to look at it, that's just kind of a loan for the city?
More or less,
Okay.
a creative way to finance a city infrastructure project. And because we can link burden or increased use of that alley to the project, it's an eligible improvement. The increment generated still is generated by the apartment project. So we're tapping
okay.
that same increment, the increased taxes that are being generated by their project, then the city carves out a way to pay ourselves back
Okay,
with
I
that
get- yeah,
same, yeah.
I understand how you were connecting it. I just didn't understand how the dollars flowed. So if it's still coming off of that same project, then you're probably at 600 plus 300, you're looking at about 18 years, 18 to 20, probably not even the full 25, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's about where the calculus, again, we haven't finalized that, but yes, in
Okay.
and around 18 years.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Look.
This has always been a parking lot, or most recently now is a parking lot?
So its first iteration was ball fields and parking for the high school. And then when NEI purchased the site from the high school and redeveloped to the tech school, the ball field went away, the track, the stadium, and it just became a parking lot. So, yeah, it's been in its current condition for several decades. Interesting. Yeah.
Any further comments or questions for Aaron? Again, thank you, Aaron, for being here.
Thank you, commissioners.
And the record will show that we have entertained this item, listened to it, understood it, and are moving on. Our next item is committee reports, and we will start with the Management Committee. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The items on the regular committee are informational, and we do have 2 additional from our Management Committee this morning. The first item is adopting Resolution 2022 M2. It's a resolution approving the tentative agreement between the County of Anoka and the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 49, representing the Highway Parks Maintenance Unit for the calendar years 2022 through 2024. It's contract C 0009098.
Is there an offer of the resolution?
Offer it.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really getting into the minutia here, but when I was reading it, I just noticed there's a couple of adjustments in regards to our new payroll system. Someone can get back to me after this. I was just curious if that has to do with our broadband type of things that we're doing, or if it's because of our new day actual infrastructure payroll system.
I believe it has to do with the Workday
Workday, thank you.
system.
Okay, thanks.
With that, the resolution is before us. I would comment that I'm thrilled that we have a 3-year deal. I think negotiating every 3 years is much more advantageous than doing it annually, although it brings about risks. What the economy may shift up or down for either party. So it's not just a risk we bear alone. The 49ers also bear that risk. But it's one worth taking, in my opinion, so I'm glad we have a 3-year deal. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
That item passes.
And the next item is approving the 2022 proposed revisions to the Anoka County Personnel Rules and Regulations.
Is there a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Reinert and a second by Commissioner West. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Really a lot of housekeeping in here, getting caught up to what our actual practices are, and then bringing into the document some changes we've made in recent years to our, for instance, FTO and other items within our rules and regs. So they're just being brought up to date with this document.
Mr. Chair.
Look.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question on, well, what is it, Section 6G, employee benefits as it relates to deferred compensation. I'm not sure if someone can answer questions on this, but essentially it's saying it's clarifying deferred compensation accounts do not offer loan provisions. It removes auto enrollment, match the minimum, and opt-in choice, and adds post-tax. Is deferred compensation, what we offer employees, is that a post-tax deduction, or is it before tax deduction, I guess, is my first question.
Steph?
Commissioner Look, members of the board, thank you for the question. These deferred comp changes, just to make a statement first so that you know, these are in relation to some vendor changes that we have made. And so now with our two vendors, we have one that doesn't participate in auto enrollment, so HR representatives have been doing that sort of by hand. So we have cleaned this up. This is in anticipation of process change for Workday, much of this in the deferred comp space. And so for deferred comp, I believe it is pre-tax. And so I can certainly check on that and follow up with you. But the changes that are referenced in here are related to clarifying what that is so the employee can elect to participate in it, enjoy the benefits of it, but that process sort of be theirs alone and not be some sort of auto-enrolled, force where we're choosing between the vendors for them and things like that. And I can follow up on that. I believe, if I have that correct, that it is pre-tax.
Okay. Mr. Jarrett, just for full disclosure, I sit on the Deferred Compensation Board for Nationwide, and so as these changes happen, they often, inquire as to what changes were made by the respective counties, and so, yeah, follow-up would be good, so I can at least
I'll do that.
respond to those questions when they come, so.
And then just one additional comment, Commissioner Look. We actually are partnering with finance, and we'll be exploring some of the new options we have in both offerings that employees can choose from, as well as the loan options, and anticipate in the near future, as part of these rules and regs updates, we expect another update later this year. This piece will have an additional part to it, but we will need commissioner input in that discussion, so that will be coming too. So know that, but I will follow up on the other for you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, there is a motion and a second before us. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That item passes.
And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us back to our regular agenda where we'll go to the finance report and Commissioner Look.
Chair, the Finance Committee met on February 3rd. We have only informational items, so no decisions today on that. But I did want to bring to light one of the item 4 there, which is a committee considered for informational purposes of professional services for abatement and remediation for the Rum River campus. There are some buildings that we have out there housing old boilers and a large boiler stack, if you will, that's kind of reached its end of life. And the boilers, of course, are neatly wrapped in asbestos, and the stack, of course, is very tall and kind of is providing some danger to a walking path that goes by and things of that nature. So I bring this up only because I'm hoping we can get some good cooperation with the city of Anoka in getting the permitting necessary to address these concerns that we have over there. Some folks may not know, but on the Rum River campus, we're moving from the centralized boiler system to individual boilers within those cottages, which is a far more efficient system than we currently have now. And some of those cottages have already been converted, so as more and more get converted, that system is getting used less and less, and yet costs quite a bit to operate. So I think it's an amount of $75,000 on this one for the remediation service, but that's to look at the abatement of it, but I think it'll be significantly more than that to, remediate asbestos and try and protect that area. So more to come on that, but I want to make everyone aware of the fact that that's kind of on the horizon of things that we'll be looking at here to address the Rum River fiasco.
Commissioner, look, to make sure I don't get a lot of emails or letters on this, people need to know that the buildings we're talking about, the smokestack we're talking about, aren't turn-of-the-century buildings. They're not the cottages. They're not the buildings with historic value. These are late 50s, early 60s buildings that really have no architectural value. They're like a warehouse building or a workshop, so they're not of architectural value or historical value. But we are willing and looking forward to working with the city of Anoka and getting the permits necessary to make that safe for the surrounding community as they use those trails, as you mentioned. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm glad that you were talking about the price. I mean, I didn't know it was about asbestos. And I'm not a contractor, but I do know that it's expensive and very particular how you remove that. So I'm sure, do you have any idea how much that's going to cost? I mean, ballpark? I'm just curious.
I will say the $75,000 we're spending here today is to get an estimate
Right.
on what it's going to cost to do it. It will be well over a couple $1 million.
Okay.
Maybe 3 million, maybe 4 million. I'm not sure. It's not going to be cheap. These are big buildings, and this is a lot of asbestos and probably other hazardous materials as well.
Thank you.
And we're working within a scenic riverway, so there's a lot of precautions that need to be taken. All right, and this is a non-voting item, just for information only on your finance report.
Just for information, Mr. Chair, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Let's move on then to the Human Services Committee Chair report, and we'll turn to Commissioner Reinert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I decided not to have our committee meet prior to today's meeting. There's just a couple of items. As the largest service provider in the county, can you imagine when we get together, there's probably 15, 20 people, and so just a couple of items we decided to let them work that morning. So today we just have a chair's report and a couple items to consider. And so our committee would like the board to consider ratification of medical assistance and general assistance medical expense payments for economic assistance clients in an amount of $274,429.61 as identified in the economic assistance clients payments report for January 2022 on file in Human Service Administrations. And this is basically, this action is just going to I guess allow us to let those dollars flow to where they need to go.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
That item passes.
And then we just have one more item in front of you today, and that's under Public Health and Environmental Services, and this is to have the board consider entering into a contract C0009076 with Grace Restoration International for trusted community messenger work and COVID-19, around COVID-19 and other health issues in an amount not to exceed $120,000 from March 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. And I'm just going to read a little bit so that you can understand what we're doing here. Anoka County aims to protect community health by developing relationships with community leaders, crafting culturally relevant messaging, and partnering to provide low-barrier opportunities for health improvement. Additionally, Anoka County strives to improve health services in general by assessing community needs and developing strategies to address health priorities in the community. Many cultural communities and underserved groups experience barriers to receiving health services. These barriers include language, misinformation, transportation, and limited access to information. So this group basically, through the means of, they use podcasts, some mailers, and they actually do a lot of consulting with our staff to help them reach those people who are underserved in the community and hard to reach.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just commentary. So this is a lot of my district for underserved and new Americans, and talking about transportation and language barriers, and then just access. How do you get access to that? So I just wanted to say I really appreciate this. It takes a lot of time, and essentially this is building trust, right, within the communities. And there's not an easy answer. I was actually going to ask, like, what are the methods that you're using or they're using? But you touched on it. Some podcasts. Sounds like mailers. I also assume faith community leaders as well, because I know that that is a key component in getting into these communities with trust and things like that. So just commentary. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Reiner.
And I'll also add to that, Grace Restoration International, we're glad to have them aboard to help us with this because there's not a lot of organizations that actually do this kind of work.
And I will follow up with the thought that the rest of the county can rest assured that they're also involved here. It's not just Commissioner Meisner's district. We have very diverse communities within Coon Rapids and Fridley and points north, Blaine, and every one of our communities have a great deal of diversity. And so this is for everybody. And I'm thrilled that we're doing it. It's an important part of our work. Thank you for leading those efforts at Public Health. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad, Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. That item passes.
Okay, we've got a couple appointments, but we're going to deal with that later in the meeting. So that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinert. Let's move on to the Information Technology Committee report. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The IT Committee met on February 9th. We have just one action item. The Information Technology Committee recommends the County Board approve an amendment to Contract C0005421 with Marco Technologies. They're out of St. Cloud, Minnesota, to renew the county's enterprise-wide unified communications system for an additional 3 years in the amount of $357,353.37 with a 5% change order of $17,867.65 for a total of $375,221.02. This is the system that we currently have consists of hardware, software, and services that provide multiple communication methods, including phone, physical and soft phone, video, messaging, voicemail, and content sharing. In late 2016, the county purchased the United Communication System with a 5-year licensing and support included, and implemented the new solution throughout 2017. A new licensing agreement is needed as the original 5-year agreement is expiring in early 2022. Susan Vreeland is here to answer any questions and maybe give us a little bit more of an update, but we want to welcome Susan with us today.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, members of the County Board. I'm Susan Vreeland, the Director of Information Technology. Commissioner Gamache, you're correct. This is an amendment to an existing contract with Marco Technologies that allows for not just the maintenance of what I'd call the back-end infrastructure of our phone and unified communication system, but also, as we're seeing increasingly, the licensing for users, because that's a key component of what we pay for now is not just the equipment on the back end and not even so much the physical telephones anymore, but the licensing every user needs to be able to use that system. So I personally use my laptop a lot as a telephone, but I'm still a user, so we need to pay for that license for myself as an example. Fortunately, we were able to, at the time we put the system in place, many of the parts that we maintain, and even the licenses to a certain extent, were more of a, I don't want to say a new technology, they've been out there for some time, but they were seen as less of a commodity. And certainly with the last couple of years and the need for alternate means of communication, they're much more of a commodity than they were back in 2016. So with that, when we budgeted for a new contract back in 2016, 17, 18, we weren't certain what to expect. So we did budget for the contract to renew it somewhat around what it was at the time of the larger implementation, and that was around $250,000 a year. We were able to negotiate this contract to come in about $119,000, so a savings of about $130,000 a year for the county. And the change order I doubt us using, but significant savings to keep this technology moving forward.
Thank you, Susan. And I will offer this. Is it a resolution?
This is not a resolution, it's an amendment to a contract, so I'll take that as a motion
Make
to
the
approve.
motion, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? I just want to thank Susan for this. I run a small business and I just implemented a new phone system. And I only have 5 users, and that was a pain.
Fun, isn't it?
I can imagine what it's like with 2,000 plus users. Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that item passes.
The rest of what we have on here is informational. We did get an update on the request for proposals for the jail management system, which is moving along. We also had some information regarding requests for proposals for the finance procurement system. So we've got a couple different systems coming along. And then Susan gave us a great update on some of the open position and the vacancies and how hiring is going, because we do have some critical areas that we want to get hired and get people in. So we just had a quick update as to how that's going along. So we're feeling confident that things will continue to move that way. And That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. Let's move then back to our regular agenda. We'll skip over item 8 as we've already done that, and move on to item 9, where we have some committee appointments. First, we'll consider reappointing Brian Lindberg, representing the county attorney, to the Community Corrections Advisory Board for a 2-year term expiring February of 2024. Item B, we'll consider appointing Ryan Harden, representing finance professionals, to the Internal Audit Committee, replacing Bob Thistle. And C, we'll consider reappointing Juanita Reed Boniface and Reed Mortensen to the Minnesota Extension Committee for 3-year terms expiring January of 2025. And then lastly, we'll consider for informational purposes my appointment of Michael Scholl of Northeast Bank, representing the banking industry and the private business sector, to the Anoka County Workforce Development Board, replacing Jerry Miller, for a 2-year term expiring April 30th of 2024. I will entertain a motion on 9A, B, and C.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reinert. Is there further discussion? I would like to thank those who have served and are no longer serving, and acknowledge the passing of Bob Thistle, who served on our Internal Audit Committee for a number of years and served in many roles as a city manager in Coon Rapids. And he was a great asset to Anoka County in a lot of different ways through the years. And his passing leaves a void. But that one portion of that void will be filled by Ryan Harden as he steps onto our committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And anybody opposed? That item passes. And that concludes our county board meeting for today. Thank you. The HRA will convene